case you missed it, it's the top 5 sports talkers of the day. Now, it's time for Dan Barreiro's Top 5 at 5. Brought to you by Gutter Helmet of Minnesota. Never clean your gutters again. Learn more at gutterhelmetmn.com.
It is indeed that time again. Top 5 at 5. Lavelle is expected in studio later this hour. We'll get to a lot of Twin stuff. We will get to some Viking stuff. We will get to some, I promise you, Minnesota Lynx stuff as well. Where would you like to start the top 5 at 5? In fact, speak of the devil. Lavelle has just blown in. Is that water or coffee you have in your little styrofoam cup there? What is that?
That is water, my friend.
Water? You're not a big coffee guy, are you?
Not really.
Not really.
Once in a while.
Are you a latte guy? Are you a foo-foo drink?
Not really. I'll have an occasional cafe mocha if the mood strikes me. But
nice.
That's it. Sorry, no kombucha, no ayahuasca, no anything like that.
How do you know if you don't try it? Ayahuasca might, who knows, it might loosen you up a little bit.
I'm one of those rare people that likes water. I drink about 80 ounces a day.
Water's important. That's good. Water's very important for you.
And then somehow the water becomes brown as we get into the evening.
Yeah, well, I think we understand. All right, where do we want to go?
I definitely want to go here.
Time now for the obligatory Kevin Fallness Minnesota Wild mention.
Because we have to. They played so well. Season opener.
He is so sensitive.
Beyond sensitive.
He was just he was brokenhearted. I came in and listened to your show in the studio for a while last night at the X, and I got to leave, and I get this text from him, well, thanks for saying goodbye.
Yeah, he's needy.
Yeah.
Fallness likes to view himself as a tough guy, but he's actually very needy. You know that better than any of us. You spend more time around him.
Well,
I mean,
I'll say this. I'm going to be at the X tomorrow night, and so I'm temporarily in his debt. So Fallness is a great guy, and we love him, and he's great at his job.
Jeez.
Anyways.
More on that later.
More on this game right now, though, because the Wild looked really good.
Rudin, right side offensive zone, looking for Johansson. Sillinger jumps out of the box, 5-on-5 hockey now. Boldy, right side offensive zone, Matt Boldy, fires. Matt Boldy with the first goal of the new season, and late in the first, the Wild have a 1-0 lead.
Yeah, the second line contributed a lot. Boldy gets a goal. Eck gets a goal. And then a power play goal for the Wild as well. One on the penalty kill given up, which stinks. That still has to be worked out. It's not their best, but they find a way to win. And Gus looked really good as well.
Well, their opponent's not very good, right? We don't think. I know they're starting over. They got the new coach, the whole bit. But we're not talking about a team that's, at least in the front end of the season, destined to be. Weren't they a bottom 5 feeder last year?
Yeah, they weren't very good.
Yeah. Just saying.
Let's go to what you'll hear at 6 o'clock right here on the Fan. The Timberwolves are playing in Des Moines, my hometown, my old barn, Wells Fargo Arena. Anthony Edwards will make his preseason debut tonight. Julius Randle will not play, and Rudy Gobert is a game-time decision. You'll hear all the action starting at 6 right here on the Fan.
Shouldn't play then.
Well, yeah, it sounds like they are trying to be very, Randall's season ended last year with a shoulder issue, and it sounds like they're just trying to be as cautious as possible. On the other hand, I know there's curiosity, even got to be from within, about how he fits in. Now, they're using him. I'm sure he's practicing with the club already. But you know how preseason stuff works, Lavelle. They're going to err on the side of caution every opportunity they get.
Yeah, just rest Rudy. I mean, if it's a game time decision, the decision should already be made to have him sit this one out. And Ant's probably going to play a quarter anyway.
If that.
Glorified exhibition. Reminds me of baseball.
As I recall it, Dante the other night, they played him like he was great. He played like 7 minutes, first 7 or 8 minutes, and then that was it. I don't think you saw anything of him the rest of the night. So, yeah, it is a good idea. The idea they play these games in locations where ordinarily you're not going to see NBA basketball. Unfortunately for a lot of the fans, though, you're still not really seeing NBA basketball because so many people are sitting.
Right, and so many players that you're not going to see ever again are filling out these rosters, these camp rosters. So,
what do you guys think of this idea? Can KFAN issue Fallness a ceremonial key card to the building? Of course, the card wouldn't really work, but it sounds like a pretty good compromise. I think he would take that even harder than not getting a card at all, don't you? If you gave him a key card that doesn't work, I think he'd start blubbering.
I mean, I'm 99% sure he has a card.
Oh, he already has one?
Yeah, I'm pretty
does he?
sure. I'm pretty
Well, that's
sure
a security breach as far as I'm concerned.
Does
Why-
a card smell like watermelon or vanilla or
Enchanted Forest,
Yes.
whatever it is. Let's talk about the other basketball squad. I'm sure people are dying because what a game. 95-93 winners in the WNBA Finals in overtime in New York against the Liberty. What a comeback. What a game. Game 2 is this Sunday at 2.
we're going to talk about it in more depth later with Lavelle for sure. I said earlier, Lavelle, that having gotten here in November of 86, so that's now almost 40 years. Am I doing my math right?
That's right.
24?
That's
Yeah,
38.
almost 40. God, that's amazing. That it ranks literally with as good a mythic, dramatic comeback situation with major implications, because this is the final round, right? This is the championship round, as any of them. I really believe that. And unlike, this wasn't like a miracle, Minneapolis Miracle, because it wasn't one play, but it was, because it was over a 5-minute stretch of regulation. And then even at the end, when they make the comeback, then you have 2 or 3 bizarre plays, out of bounds plays, some controversy, who's going to get the ball, a bad turnover by the Lynx that actually reopens the door to New York re-stealing the game. And then, of course, they kind of run away with it for a little bit in OT because New York has so much difficulty scoring. I thought it was absolute must-see sports theater.
Yeah, I was at the Wild game. I left in the middle of the second period when I saw that the Lynx got within 8. I was like, I gotta go find a place that's showing the game. So it was pretty remarkable. It was high drama, and the national reaction to the game has been very intense. I just want to point out the bettors had the Liberty as an overwhelming favorite to win the title. I think they were like minus 300 or something, you know. And I sat there and looked at that going, the Lynx have beaten them twice at New York this year.
It's true.
They're not afraid to go in there.
In the Cup game, the Commissioner's Cup, whatever
Exactly,
they call
Commissioner's Cup. They're not going to be afraid to walk into the Barclays Center with what does Walton say? With the head down and hand in her holster.
That's it. Gun belt tight.
We're tight.
We'll talk more also about Collier hit the game-winning shot. It was a terrific shot, but her defense, she's a player, man. And there are rumors, unconfirmed to this point, but there are rumors that Nafisa might appear on the Bumper to Bumper program on Monday. So stay tuned. If there's more negotiations, I think they're ongoing, but I think we got a pretty good shot at it. I would look forward to that.
One more thing before we go to break. Did any lost in the shuffle, really, of all this great Minnesota sports success last night? The 49ers, it looked like they were going to blow out the Seahawks. It looked like it was going to be a rout. Seahawks made it a little bit of a game, but 49ers pull away 36-24, kind of a weird score for a football game. Did either one of you catch up with that game after the Lynx' great win in the Wild season opening win?
Just very little.
Well, here's what happens to me. I've talked about this before. I don't know if anybody else has the same issue, but when that game was an Amazon Prime game last night, correct? Mm-hmm. So when I have to go back and forth between the streaming Apple TV and the regular network, it's a pain in the ass.
You can change inputs.
And exactly. And so I wanted to go back to it, and ordinarily I would have kind of switched back and forth during timeouts in the Lynx game and even in the Wild game, because they're both on TV, but I couldn't, so I ended up watching almost none of that ball game. I hate that. There's got to be a way. They're going to fix that, right, at some point? It's going to make it a lot easier?
I don't know.
Maybe everything's going to be streamed, and so it won't matter.
Right.
At some point,
You just got to have a smart TV so you can hop between different areas.
And just have it on your phone and then the TV, or I don't know.
It's inevitable.
Some multi-screen terrorism. Do you want one more here as a fifth?
Real quick.
I was looking at the NFC North injury reports. Which is kind of an excuse to just talk about the Packers for a second. But Jordan Love, not even listed, which is great.
So he's
full
back.
practice, he's back. Christian Watson, questionable. He practiced all week, limited, which is like 3 weeks quicker than I thought he would. And Jair practiced all week as well, so that's great for Green Bay. Your squad, both of you, 3 players out.
Yeah.
Here, Brisker, Pickens,
That's a loss.
Smith.
Brisker for sure is a big loss. Concussion protocol.
Brisker's got a concussion. You missed a fourth today, Mr. Blakemore.
Does he matter?
Tyreek Stevenson starting corner.
Oh, yeah.
Doubtful now.
Yeah, yep. I've got him listed as doubtful with a calf. And then the Motor
That's
City...
that's the early game. That's the London game this week, and it's the reason I'm off from sermons again, 2 straight weeks. We're running the game on the Fan, the Bears in Jacksonville.
Lucky you.
Yeah, it's not a bad gig of you.
You can stay up all night Saturday night now.
For sure, yeah.
I just turned around. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. But I'm seeing a little bit of green on the schedule. So Packer Preview, have no fear. We're still on the air.
You will be there.
And the Motor City Kitties quickly only have one. They have 4 players on the injury report, which is wild at this point in time. Only one of them is out. A Christian, I'm going to go with Mahogany, is what it looks like. Or an O-lineman.
Lots of texts are already coming in for the Lavelle segment. We will talk Twins, the ownership situation. We will, though, get to a number of other
I'm not in mourning
subjects. That's the rumor. And I want to talk a little bit more about the Lynx performance last night, the big victory, basically setting themselves up to steal this series if they play their cards right. Lavelle in studio when we come back. Lavelle E. Neal III is in studio, brought to you by Allery's Bar in St. Paul, your home of free parking and wild shuttles. You have an Allery's update as well, Lavelle?
They're open for lunch now. Everybody likes barbecue because apparently it's one of the few places in downtown St. Paul you get good barbecue. So
they brought some in a couple weeks for you did for and they did to sample. It was quite good.
Yep. So they open they're open at 11 o'clock during the week now.
So
and they will be open Sunday at 8 a.m. for the Bears game.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask because it's an early 8:30 start. Yeah. So they will be ready. They'll be in place.
And I've seen the breakfast menu. It's pretty solid.
Is it like a kind of a buffet kind of a thing, or what do they do?
They got sandwiches. They got omelets, but breakfast burritos.
Very
ready
nice.
To go. Yep.
Very nice. Questions for Lavelle? Some of them have already come in. Bradshaw and Brian KFAN text line is open, 64686. Before we get to the ownership blockbuster announcement and what you have learned about it, let's talk briefly in a little more depth on the National Football Conference North. Current record of the 4 teams is a combined 14-5, which is tremendous. It's obviously there's no losing records in this division right now. So we're 5 weeks in. Mm-hmm. Lions are just coming off the bye, so they've played 4 games. Mm-hmm. Is anything beyond the Vikings start? Is there anything else different you look at this in terms of the way you look at this division that's already made you think it's different than it was before the season began? What's the pecking order?
Well, here's the thing. I'm trying to still get a read on Green Bay. And they did a great job when Love was out, with Malik Willis winning 2 games. Mm-hmm. I'm still not convinced they're a major threat here. So I'd have the Vikings and the Lions as the 2 main combatants for the division title. I got to see Green Bay in person when they play my Bears week 11. But I think they're okay. I think they're okay. I don't know if they're a threat to win the division. Could they get in the wild card? Maybe. But it's kind of pretty much gone as expected. Well, I'm not going to say that because I had the Vikings going 7-10.
Yeah, I was in that same boat. Yeah. Yeah.
So I have to change my opinion here because I thought the Vikings would be like in 3rd place, battling it out with the Bears. So yeah, that is one thing that's turned.
They'd have to finish 2-10 to end up 7-10 at this point if I'm doing the math right.
That's not happening even if you start Nick Mullins.
Well, I don't want to tempt the gods on that, to be honest with you.
Oh, but Aaron Jones is a big key because their offense changed in the London game.
Yes,
once he left,
it did. He's concerning.
He's more vital to the offense than I think than we believe.
I've already suggested it's not crazy to consider him the MVP of the offense. The problem is, in fairness, you have to know if you go out and acquire Jones, there's a good chance you're going to have to mix and match. He's not going to be available every week, and I guess that's the pact with the devil. You have to be prepared to take. I'd like, in my opinion, before the trade deadline, if indeed he becomes chronically out again, I want another running back. I have one for you. I know Ty has done okay, but I don't love him enough to say, okay, that's enough as the. I'd want another option at the running back spot.
I got one for you.
What do you got?
Khalil Herbert.
He's sneaky good, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, he's got some ability. And can he catch the ball a little bit?
Yeah, he can a little bit.
Yeah.
He's kind of a one-cut guy, but he usually bounces off the first tackler.
And he's buried in Chicago now, right?
Yeah, because they made Roshan Johnson the goal line guy.
Right.
And DeAndre Swift is at least a 2-down back.
Right. Right.
So, yeah, I expect the Bears to trade him before the deadline. Why wouldn't they?
Yeah.
I noticed that 49ers guy who replaced Christian McCaffrey hurt his shoulder. I believe, yesterday. So I think they're concerned about that. There's going to be some teams that may need some running backs at the deadline.
Do you view the NFC as more inviting to a team like the Vikings jumping up? Because some of the heavyweights don't look quite as dominant as they've been, 49ers included. Now, they got their victory over Seattle, but they've been up and down. They're still missing McCaffrey. That could go on who knows how long. The Eagles are weird right now. They don't look as dominant as they were. Dallas is always weird. The Rams are not what they, they were once a pedigreed team. They're dangerous any 1 week, I think, but not great. So to me, the NFC looks very inviting.
Are you buying
a team can jump up and make a little bit of a run?
Are you buying the Commanders?
Well, it's hard to ignore them. It's impossible to ignore them at this point. I'm not ready to say it's their conference because they, similar, you could say, to the Vikings, maybe even more so, are coming out of nowhere. So might reality start catching up with them? There's not a lot of pedigree in terms of history of success in the postseason, so you got to pay attention to them, right? What are they, 4-1 after they lost their opener, and
Correct.
they haven't lost since?
Right, and the Bears have them. They're at Washington on October 27th in the high draft pick bowl between Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels.
The Bears continue to profit from that last place schedule, correct? It's
Absolutely.
It's pretty soft.
Absolutely.
That's
they
makes
got
it
the
hard
Jaguars. The Jaguars game is winnable. Commanders game is suddenly looking more interesting.
Yes.
They're at the Cardinals, and then they're homing against the Patriots. They could be 6-3 going
Easily.
into week 11.
That's it. And then I don't know what their schedule does. I think they start playing more within the division, right?
Well, they haven't played. They don't play a division opponent until week 11, which I've never seen before in my viewing career. So it goes Packers, Vikings, Lions, 49ers, Vikings, Lions, Seahawks, Packers. So a lot of NFC North action. And the division title will be on the line for some of these games. So should be interesting. If Caleb Williams can continue to grow,
he's improving.
He can make things interesting.
The Carolina defense is awful, but he still made some. He's making some strides. He's making quicker decisions for sure. Blakemore? What does this text refer to? You people find any excuse to take a day off? It's literally the Vikings bye week. Ick. What does that mean? What's he referring to there?
Thinking sermons.
Oh,
that is my guess.
See. Well, I will say that the decision was kind of taken out of my hands. I think there may even be some contractual issues where we have I assume it's a Westwood game where we have to carry a certain number. I'll admit I didn't protest. I didn't lose my mind and say I'm working bye-week sermons or I'm quitting. I didn't like.
You didn't pound the table.
I didn't pound the table. I'm not going to deny it, but. At this point, I feel this way, Lavelle. Maybe this is convenient logic at this point. But I say to myself, well, I've been working 6 days a week forever. So if I miss a few extra Sunday sermons at my advanced age, I don't think I necessarily have to apologize for that. Do I? I mean, come on.
No.
It's been going on. I mean, there's a lot of people who've told me for years I should stop doing Sunday at all, and I refuse to do that. I said, no, I kind of like doing the Sunday bit. I know Blakemore would be devastated if I stopped. He loves coming in here on Sunday morning. But
especially in the football season.
Yeah, I don't think if you're trying to guilt me into feeling guilty about missing 2 straight sermons, I don't think it's going to work.
When you have a sports program and you're going to have shows preempted, you are.
It happens.
It's just a fact of radio life.
And it's still football. It's not the Vikings, but it is an NFC North team, and it is a Europe game as well. So let's do this. Let's make this the bottom of the hour pause. Let's get to the Twins sale and maybe a little more Lynx chatter. We are, ironically, out at 6 o'clock today. And again, it's not our choice. It's Minnesota Timberwolves preseason basketball right here on the Fan out of Des Moines, Iowa. Who are we playing tonight? I can't remember.
The 76ers.
Oh, that's right. The Philadelphia 76ers. I don't know how many of their main players are playing, but our information is that Julius Randle will not play tonight, but Anthony Edwards will at least play a minute or two. So all that action is coming up later tonight on the Fan. Twins sale, is it just because they're up for sale, does that make it a slam dunk that they will be sold? We'll ask that question of Lavelle and get an answer. We maybe already got a bit of it and get to...
It's the Bumper to Bumper Show Wrap.
Music early, because this is our final segment. We'll go basically to the top of the 6 o'clock hour. Minnesota Timberwolves basketball, preseason basketball coming up on the Fan. So the bombshell press release from the Twins, from the poll ads from Joe, saying the Twins were putting the Twins up for sale with the intention of selling them. The word is accurate. It's very precise. Do you think, if you're a betting man and you have to go to Vegas and place a bet on whether, in fact, the team will be sold, which way are you going, yay or nay?
What odds are you giving me? I don't think it's a slam dunk. I would say 65 to 70%. At this point, and just because I'm watching the landscape here, and the Angels tried to go on the market and got pulled back after 5 months, and the Nationals are on the market for 2 years, and the family decided to bring it back. Now, were those reasons because the valuations went up to a point where I may want to hold on to this for a while, or was it they didn't get the right number, the number that they wanted? Because each situation is different. And these things take a while. They take months to pull off, and it has to be approved by the league, and has to jump through all these hurdles and hoops. But I would imagine, knowing the Polat family, how they've operated, I don't know if they would put it on the market unless they had an idea of who was going to step up and say, I want to be that person to own a team. So they're usually really calculated when stuff like this happens.
I was going to say, there's a good chance. I think they might even already have some leads. Generally, it's not. Now, do you buy? This is a new thing I have heard and read somewhere that there is no correlation between the criticism that the ownership has received in some circles and the decision to make this move, that in fact they have been exploring this idea going back to the middle of the summer, even at a point where the team was in a much better position on the field than it ended up being at the end of the season. To which you say what?
I'm going to say two things. Well, first of all, I asked an official about the hits they've been taking, and they claimed that it had nothing to do with it. But I imagine they're still stung a little bit by the blowback and the reaction to Joe's statements, because Joe hasn't done any favors, and he's not that old, and he's in the chair for a couple of years, so I think he's finding out what happens when you say the wrong thing the wrong way, because you never come out and say
no,
this is a business decision. Yeah. No, even if it's true, you don't say that.
We got to be a little more artful about it, and then we can talk about whether it made any sense to do under those conditions.
The timing of this decision, no. I now think that the 2024 Twins were doomed going back to late last year when the offseason began. Because if they arrived at this conclusion sometime during the summer, that means the family must have been talking about this before then. So the decision when they told me at the end of 2023, we were pretty much at the limit of what we can spend right now. So we got to do some things.
No, not what the limit of what they can spend, the limit of what they want to spend.
Want to spend,
yeah.
Okay. And then the TV thing went haywire, and then they dropped the payroll by $30 million. So I think this decision was made months ago, which means the conversation is going on before that. So that means the 2024 Twins really had no chance of getting sort of upgrade, or at least maintaining what they had.
You're probably right. Interesting. This is from texter Brad. Once a possible Twins sale officially happens, will the Star Tribune reimburse Lavelle for getting his Polat tattoo removed? Your Polat tattoo removed.
Someone jumped at me last night about no more free dinners at Manny's and Murray's for you, I guess. Now that you won't have a team to shill for. And I'm like, well, maybe it's a good time to go on a diet. So you got to love Twitter. You got to take it with a grain of salt. Because when they find a narrative that they can all just pile in on, they pile in hard.
Well, don't be naive and don't act blameless. You love to troll the tweet that basically completely changed the show I missed the day that Guardsy replaced me. It's fairly clear you knew exactly what you were doing. So don't play the innocent victim. Okay?
Guardsy started
on narratives.
Guardsy started that because I was debating. Let's just call it debating someone.
Yeah.
And then Guardsy comes in with, well, then he should sell the team then. And then that led to my response about, oh, don't watch out what you wish for. And then apparently I just set him off. I guess Brett was in that day, and both of them had a field day with that.
Yeah, the whole show went on a detour after that. Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't act like you didn't know. So let me ask you, as I thought you were a semi-reformed ball guy, but you kind of straddle both worlds, where there are times where I think you try to break away from the ball guy cabal and occasionally perish the thought, criticize ownership. And then there's times where I feel like, no, that fraternity's too important for me. I can't get away too much from it. Let's stick with the logic of payroll wasn't the problem when the team imploded the last 6 weeks of the season. This payroll is responsible for the number of players who went into the tank, especially hitting, especially offensively. So on that logic, could you not also say, well, why $130 million? There's teams who are making it with $100 million. Why does it have to be that? What's the number at which even you, a ball guy, would say, well, wait a minute. Hold on a minute here. You're not even giving yourself a chance. Because if I play out your logic, there is no such number. Because I could argue, well, that didn't have anything to do with three of your best players suddenly not being able to hit any longer. That's my problem with the game you ball guys play, is that we're not on the other end of this quite as stupid as you think we are.
I don't think you guys are
We're
stupid.
not quite as, we understand baseball is, to use one of your colleagues' terms, very complex. It's a very complex game. And
it's very nuanced.
It's very nuanced, beyond belief. It's everything else is maybe Parcheesi and checkers, and baseball is chess. But it all works together, okay? So it's about, for me, giving yourself the best chance at success, knowing that the moves you make, the players you even bring in, may or may not help you. They don't always help you. But if you use the logic of, well, here's a pitcher I wanted, and he was terrible, we could also find 5 other pitchers that might have helped. I don't know. To me, the message you're delivering there is then don't try anything.
Yeah, where were they when Seth Lugo was available?
Why bother with any of it? Because there's just as much chance that the guy you get is going to be bad as there's a chance it's going to be good. At which point you say, well, what are we doing? Why are we even attempting to put together a team?
Well, that's why I put in the column at the top half of the column was about coming off of last year and all the good feeling there was about the franchise, and they decided to go the other way. And my sentence was,
well, that's the thing. You've gone both ways on this. You've said several times you are obligated to do more than you've done, but now you're saying, well, the next owner is just as likely to take the same approach this ownership group did, which you have been criticizing previously.
Well, I'm a big believer that baseball decisions can mitigate the spending. I do. But to answer your question about
mitigate,
where's the line? Where's the line at? I think the line changes from year to year based on the team you have and how it's constructed. A team that's $120 million may get on a run and go to the World Series.
Right.
Maybe it takes 170 one year or 180. This depends on the makeup of the team. Could the Twins have added someone this year that would have been a buffer to all the crap that went on with injuries and people struggling in the second half of the season? Absolutely could have. Absolutely could have. So, my views on payroll is this. I think if you can handle payroll in the top half of the league, you should be able to win. The Twins are not in the top half.
They weren't even in the top half.
Yeah. And I was thinking about this yesterday too, Dan. How many times through the years that the Twins had good teams and maybe they could have used a little bit of a push and the Twins didn't do that. The 2019 Bomber squad jumps out at me.
Right. Yeah.
A team that set record, tied the Yankees for the most home runs hit in the season. They could have used some pitching. Even if you have to trade Eddie Rosario and get a pitcher or something, I think they should have looked at that. We ended up wasting Johan Santana's career, Mauer's career, Morneau's career, those teams in the 2000s. If they just did a slight nudge, you not go whole ham on the bit like the Padres did because the owner wanted to win before he died because they ended up losing. I think they've lost $160 million over the last 2 years. They don't have to go holy ham, but maybe that one guy is enough to make you go on a run, to help you get over 2 million fans, to get you some postseason gates, where the investment may pay off a little bit in the long run.
No, you're making my argument now. I was ready to fight with you, but I'm making your argument.
It's just hard for me to say what the fans are saying because they feel like the Polo should be entitled to spend the money that they're spending because they're worth $4 billion.
Well, I
can't go with the cheap thing. I have to look at it as a blend with baseball decisions and spending at the right time.
It's always a combination, but I think, again, the notion that you've laid out that apparently got Gardsey going was that when the new guy comes in and really, looks at all the bona fides and all the numbers, he or she just as likely to say, yeah, we're going to do the same thing. I think there is almost zero chance of that early because by definition, if there are prospective owners who are looking at these numbers and coming to that conclusion from the beginning, they're not going to buy the team. They're going to say, it's not, I'll go someplace else or I'll wait for the next one. I think there's every reason to believe that even from a business standpoint, the first 5 years, they're going to go, we're going to do it different. I don't know where we're going to be after that, but we're going to do it different. And the best example, you already laid it out. They projected an extra 300,000 fans, okay? So from a business standpoint, you can make the argument that it was a bad business decision, even though they felt they had the right to do it because they lost all that regional money, to not spend the extra, you don't want to say 30, say 20, whatever $1 million that would have given them greater margin for error. And would that have meant another 300,000 people? I don't know. But and I know, in this town, that proclamation, when it came, right after one of the more exciting the finishes to a Twins season, took almost all the starch out of fans who, even if you think they're irrational, you don't want to give irrational fans a double reason to say, I'm out. I'll just watch on TV if I can.
Yeah, I've said that multiple times. And I wrote a comment in the last year saying, please build on this. And it didn't happen.
No, I'm fine. Calm down. I didn't take a hard fall. I'm just yelling. Anyway, Apple Watch doing it again, yeah.
Oh, really?
This happens like twice a week.
Oh, I apologize for that.
No, it's not your fault.
No, I mean, like I said, I don't totally disagree with that. I think that, like I said, there's times where they could take that step out and go in the deep end. I'm not, like I said, maybe they don't sign someone for 40.
But this isn't even deep end.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They don't have.
We're not even asking most people.
I agree with just a little bit of a nudge.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
But that's what some of the ball guys create what I call straw men, and they pretend that most Twins fans are first of all blaming everything that goes wrong, including bad base running and injuries, on ownership, which is patently false. Correct. And that they expect that the Twins each year are going to go and compete for literally the most expensive free agents, and they don't either. They're saying there is that middle ground that we rarely seem to reach, or when we kind of dip our toe into the semi-deep end, we go, oh my God, we can't do that for more than 15 minutes. And I really think most fans are reasonable about expectations, not that we're going to be competing for the same players that the Yankees and you mentioned the Padres that the Dodgers are constantly going after and have the money to do.
Well, the reasonable people don't exist on X and Twitter, I think.
Well, right, yeah.
The super passionate ones and the ones who just want to complain and yell at clouds are the ones who usually it takes.
It's a small percentage. That's my point. And you ball guys make it seem like there's 80% of Twins fans are that irrational.
I can't sit back and look at the 2024 Twins and I'm totally not, like I said, I think the Twins ownership could have pushed. But I also have to look at the season and go, why'd you trade for Descalfani and Justin Topa?
Exactly.
Why'd you bring in this Trevor Richards guy from Toronto who couldn't even last a month? Why didn't you try to find a veteran pitcher at least so you didn't have to call up kids who had started the season at A-ball to start during meaningful games?
Let me give you another example that Gleeman has brought up, which I think is a good one. Two years ago, or I guess you'd say last year, part of the reason the Twins survived the number of games that Buxton missed was they decided, you know what we're going to do? We're not going to kid ourselves about this. We hope we get as many games from him as possible, but we're going to get a legitimate defensive center fielder presence who, when Buxton can't play, is at least going to give us Buxton light, right? They didn't do that again this last year. They didn't, I think, have the financial flexibility to do it, whether it was bringing him back or somebody else as well. And all you ball guys spent most of the season mocking the outfield defense. And I'd say, well, yeah, that's a ball thing that ownership's decision directly was impacted by. That there was less room to go out and have insurance, which once again with Buxton was needed because the outfield defense was awful.
To me, it seems like there should have been some more communication between the front office and the coaching staff,
right?
Because I think they felt that, first of all, Michael Teller wanted a 2-year contract, and the Twins didn't want to go there. I think Michael Teller got waived by the Pirates in the middle of the season, too. I think they thought that Manuel Margot would be the guy to be that guy. And when Rocco saw him play center field, he went, ugh, and you didn't see Manuel Margot in center very often. So I thought Austin Martin would go out there a few times. He didn't go out there as much as I thought he would. That was one that did not work out. And,
how about this?
And I'm also stunned at Kyle Farmer. He's a great guy, great story. Got hit in the face last year, bounced back. I'm surprised his $6.75 million was on the roster this year. And that could have been allocated different.
What do you think of this text? This is an interesting point that's different. This is out of 414, somewhere near the Dells. No one in Milwaukee is begging for more spending because we've seen where that goes. The Twins as an organization need better baseball people. Bud brought those people to Milwaukee, and the current ownership continued that investment in talent people and minor league coaching. The Twins are at a deficit of management talent. You don't pay more, you develop better. Is that fair?
I've told the Twins that if you don't want to spend $40 million on a top free agent, then put half of it into scouting and development, and by all measurements, the Twins have a top 10.
They made big
system.
changes. Yeah, that's true.
But these guys get up to the majors, and all of a sudden they're thinking about, Royce Lewis probably is a better fit at second and third, and that was a weird thing that flared up for about a month, just slowly and quietly went away. The pitching thing is the biggest one for me. And it's just taken now until we've seen David Festa and Zebby Matthews and a couple other guys come up, and they finally have starting pitching in the pipeline to step in. In terms of fundamentals, the other thing too, I wonder if the Twins lead the league in coaches fired under Falvey, because it seems like they're turning over their staff.
Coaches and training staffs.
Yeah, hitting coaches, training staffs, bullpen coaches, they're making a bunch of changes this year.
Yeah.
Tony Diaz was floored when they told him they were parting ways with him.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he was like a rock star when they hired him from Colorado. So now they want a different voice in the clubhouse. So I'm curious to see what their view of a different voice is. And my God, can they hire someone who used to play Major League Baseball to maybe talk to these guys about what it's like to go through a slump and how you need to push through being fatigued in September when your team's trying to stay in a playoff race?
What's the price? We know that I think the team is valued by several business outlets as like $1.4 billion, which seems low to me.
That was Forbes' valuation at the beginning of the year.
Okay. I'm assuming the poll ads are going to try to get $2 billion. Is this team going to get $2 billion in the open market?
I'm not sure. It's kind of interesting though, because NBA franchise values have skyrocketed the last few years. I don't know if that's because of the TV contracts or not.
That's part of it. That is a big part of it.
I think it's one of the reasons why Glenn Taylor.
You don't have to worry about that regional stuff the same way.
Right. I think that's one reason why Glenn Taylor's holding on to the Wolves, because his price is $1.5 billion.
How about this idea? You got the ongoing, there's binding arbitration on who's going to own the Wolves. The loser of the binding arbitration buys the Twins.
I've heard that. Either if A-Rod and Laurie get the Wolves, or if Glenn gets to keep the Wolves, maybe the other would turn around and purchase the Twins. There's a lot of things out there, man. I've heard a lot of names out there that
you're not spilling any of them for us.
Marty Davis, would love to own a sports team. That's what I was told this week. Things about the Wolves. There's a lot of names out there.
Yeah.
Can I drop one more nugget on you?
Real quick, yeah.
Someone just told me this, and he knows a lot about money and big transactions.
Right.
Over the last year, the Polak family has been kind of moving around their portfolio. They just sold 9 auto dealerships within the last year.
That's right, I remember that.
And the person told me that a lot of their net worth is tied up into the team. And when almost 50% of your net worth is tied up in one asset, that's a lot of eggs in one basket. So I'm wondering if they're in this period where they're kind of restructuring, diversifying all their stuff here.
Might be it. Thanks for coming in, man.
Glad to help.
Appreciate you. Lavelle E. Neal, the third Sunday column is on Twins ownership.
No, I'm covering the Wild Saturday.
Oh, even better.
Yeah.
Have a great weekend. Minnesota Timberwolves preseason basketball coming up on the flagship. I'm out on sermons again. Bears NFL game from Europe against Jacksonville in our time slot. So we'll talk to you on Monday at 3 o'clock. Lions Week.